What's up guys, it's Tier 1 Collections. Today in this video I'm going to talk about whether or not your card is centered properly and what you should look for through each era of Pokemon to make sure you're buying well-centered cards.
I'm the MVP, now I feel like Russell, feel like John Morant, need a triple-double, told him check the stats, yeah I got a couple.
To start this video off, I want to talk about a couple issues that I see. This is a very common one. And it's not because the centering is bad on this card necessarily, but it depends where you look. So if you're looking at the top left here on the left side, if you're looking at left to right centering, the left side at the top here is skinnier than it is at the bottom. So a lot of cards, and it's very slight here, and it could be the camera on this, but this example holds true for pretty much every era back to X and Y. You will see a lot of the pictures of the card are tilted one way or the other. It's very slightly, and it's like a degree or two, but it will make an effect on the way the centering looks depending on where you look at the top of the card or the bottom of the card for the centering. So my tip is that you should look at the top here to here and then look towards the bottom of the left to right centering. And the same goes for the bottom when you're looking top to bottom. But you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. If you look at this corner, it's closer on the right edge than it is on the bottom. And the tilt of the picture of the card is a little bit more obvious right here than it is up here. Because the evolution, especially if it's a multi-stage Pokemon, kind of covers it and it's really hard to see. But you can kind of see that this card has a tilt because of that. So that's a tip moving forward that you can use when you're looking at cards in the wild before you pick them up. All right, here's another tip for a pretty common mistake that I see. Generally speaking, people are really good at judging left to right centering, but it's just the way our eyes are. A good practice that you can have is if you're unsure about the top to bottom. Now on this card it's pretty good, but just to show you an example is you can just rotate it. Obviously if you're holding the card, again in a shop, it's much easier than the picture. I mean, this is a scan from PSA, it's my own card. But you can take a look and you can already see that looking at the top to bottom centering is much easier. It's just the way that our eyes are on our head and the way that we perceive stuff, and the way the light reflects off things. So it's really much easier for you to break down if it's close or not when you turn it sideways for the top to bottom centering. Now, obviously, you still need a little bit of an eye to get it. You know what I mean? You need to be familiar with the standards and what 45 to 55 actually looks like to what your barrier is. Obviously, this isn't a great example. It's a slightly off left to right on this Bubble Mew, and it's slightly off top to bottom, but the example holds true, and it'll help you out big time if you really suck at judging the bottom, top to bottom centering. And I know sometimes the words there at the bottom can confuse a lot of people, so I've done it before. Most people have done it before, so that's a little tip for you moving forward. Real quick, interrupting the video, if you haven't already, join my Discord. The link is down below. If you want to become a YouTube vendor, you'll get access to all the private channels in the Discord. You'll get tons of one-on-one help if it's grading Pokemon cards for profit or just sealed investments, raw investments, however you want to go. We're building a really strong community in there, and it's worth it. I'm telling you, I post eBay listings every day. I post like hundreds of them total so far. It's worth it. Become a YouTube member and join the Discord down below. Okay, I get tons of questions all the time about what centering tool is the best. Now, personally, I think all the apps are BS, and I'll explain why in a sec, but the only real one that I would use is the actual analog. This is the one that I have. I bought this a couple years ago, a year and a half ago. I use it here and there if it's really close sometimes. Now, I don't bring this to shops with me. I don't try to be disrespectful when I purchase cards. Now, if I have a little weird feeling about a card that I'm like, maybe it's a little too off center, I will throw this on there. I don't really get a ton of use out of it, but if you're just starting out, it can be a useful tool. Again, PSA is 55-45, so I recommend just going with that standard. I think that this is actually off now. Yeah. Yeah, it's off now. It used to be 60-40 when I bought this, but nonetheless, this can be a pretty useful tool if you use it correctly. But all the apps I recommend not using. They are kind of a scam, not necessarily in necessarily a bad way, but it will give you bad information. When you take a picture of your card, the aspect ratio changes just based on one single degree of your camera tilt, and that can just give you false information. So if a card is close, now it can help you verify if it's 51-49 on the app and you're like, oh, yeah, it's pretty solid. I don't think you really need the app to tell you that. If it's close, you just got to understand what's close in your own eyes so you can spot it out in the wild. To me, those apps, the AI grading and all that stuff, it has been super inconsistent, and I've tested it so many times to try to get it to make sense, and it just doesn't. So stick to analog here. I will show you an app that you can use once your PSA scans are already uploaded, once they enter grading at PSA. But again, stick to analog. If this is the tool you want to use, then you can use this one. All right, here's a great app that I use sometimes when I'm feeling uneasy. If I have the time, I'll look at my PSA scans. You can go to, it's called edgegrading.com. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description, but you go up here to centering tool and it'll bring you here and you upload your image. Here's an example of a card that I have in grading right now. I was a little worried about the top to bottom here, so I did upload this. Generally, don't take it for gospel, but if it does spit out 5347 it seems to be pretty consistent. Now, when you get it to be like 4555 on the app, again, I wouldn't take it for gospel, and don't be surprised if it goes the other way when you get the grade back. This card was virtually perfect, and obviously I'm not going to pass up a pretty clean Giratina V. But PSA scans are pretty consistent, I would say, but like even you could see here on the left border of this Giratina, it's really hard to line this thing up. Now, I would say it's perfectly lined up down here, but at the top here, it's just not. So again, it's a ballpark estimate, but I try to wait until I see the PSA scans, and it does help. It puts you at ease. Like here's one that was pretty close for me. I have this Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies. And you can see here at the top left, it's a little off, and down here at the bottom, it's flush. So, and then you could see it is a little off center here, but I took the chance. A big card, you got to take the chance. So, but this is an app that you can use to put yourself at ease a little bit if you're really unsure, and then if you line it up perfectly and it is off, then it's off. You made a mistake, you got to move on. We all do it. I do it all the time. There's many that I have in grading right now that are 46%. So you just pass that threshold. So the website is, again, edgegrading.com/centering. Again, it's not perfect. None of them are. But okay, so just to get us all on the same page here, Mega, Era, Scarlet Violet, and Sword and Shield V's full arts are pretty easy to tell, and they're about the same, okay? So I trust you. Based on what I've told you already, you'll be fine. We'll go over tag teams in a second. XY is also pretty similar to all Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet. It's just habitually worse than XY. I'll go over GX, Sun and Moon Era in a second, but the big difference will be VMAXs in Sword and Shield, and I'll show you some examples. Now, I don't want to say that the bottom centering doesn't matter. I have seen it get pretty egregious. I haven't seen enough data points here, but I did pick this one because this is a new cert. After PSA moved from the 60-40 rule now to 55-45, this is a new cert. I just found this listing on eBay. We can look. This is about the limit that I would go. Obviously, generally speaking, the Sword and Shield VMAX Altarts, right? They're usually pretty big cards, so sometimes it is worth the risk. But this is pretty skinny down here. There is some hidden centering thing, and again, it does matter about general appeal of the card. So if the words are cut off or whatever, I would not go for it. Now, if you find, a Moonbryon, a Rayquaza VMAX, Gengar VMAX from Fusion Strike, like they're really, really good plays, and honestly grails for most people. So if I found this card in the wild, I would definitely pick it up, but that's about the limit I would go in terms of the bottom centering. Obviously, the thing that matters the most is left to right. This thing is pretty clean on, front, left to right. Again, it's about general appeal of the card. I don't want to tell you the wrong information, but this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about a limit, right? So if it gets any worse than that, maybe you risk it. I'm not suggesting that you do. This is where I kind of cut it at, right? All right, moving on to Sun and Moon GX Tag Team Era, right? So this is an example of a card that I purchased on eBay, actually, and currently in my possession. But I think it hammers home pretty solidly of what the centering means on this. So for Sun and Moon, forget about the black line. Again, hold on to that for a second because general appeal matters. But you can see that this card is pretty off-center. And if you're going off the black line left to right, it's just not great. This side's definitely skinnier. right, than this side. We have generally the same amount of space here on the inside of the black line, but this side is much heavier than this side, okay? But the black line doesn't matter, okay? The black line can be really anywhere. It's just about the silver border, right? So when we're looking at left to right here, it's definitely close, right? But this is when you forget about the black line, it makes these plays just so much easier. Focus on the silver border, pretend like the black line is not there, and treat it like a sword and shield alt art, like a V, right? It makes it much easier. We can see top to bottom here is about the same. The black line is there in the center. It's almost on the art of the card here, but it's generally about the same when we're talking percentage-wise on which centering is. So just focus on the silver border and try to forget about the black line. All right, I'm going to give you 2 examples of 9s of basically how they got 9s was just because of centering. This is my take. Obviously, these aren't my cards. But if you look here, you have very evenly spacing on the top to bottom for the black line, right? But obviously, the top border is much thicker of silver, right? So this is just solidifying the fact that the black line does not matter, okay? If, you know, the border is messed up, the silver border is messed up, then you have a problem. All right, so on this Umbreon Darkrai, we have a much thicker silver border there than on the bottom. If this was a Sword and Shield card, you know, you wouldn't be grading this, but I know it messes up a lot of people. Here's just another example. Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, Cosmic Eclipse. Very, very similar thing here. It is off left to right as well. I mean, you could just see. If you, again, just ignore the black line, that border is tiny compared to this. That's definitely out of 45, 55. Granted, this was an old cert. This was 60, 40. So this is just pretty egregious, you can tell. So, again, just ignoring the black line and focusing on the silver border. It will matter sometimes if the black line is super off on one side. I've seen it. I tried to find one. It's really hard to find, but there is some miscut or, you know, just off-center cards in general where the black line is basically on the edge of the card one way and the borders are fine. Again, that's where general appeal matters at PSA. So if there's something the black line is just super egregiously off to one side or off the card or onto the picture, basically, then you're going to have a problem. But as long as the silver borders are intact, generally speaking, that is how you judge the centering on a Sun and Moon era card. All right, just to hammer home another example, I will be bidding on this Charizard. This Charizard is super clean, but it is off-center to the naked eye in terms of the black border, but I'm fairly confident here that that is within the 55-45 standard. Obviously, the back is also very clean. I will be bidding on this. I will be releasing this video after this auction's already ended, so hopefully I win. It comes up today at 11 p.m., so I will be bidding on this. Again, very, very clean, but if you were going by the black line, not the greatest standard, right? Because then it would look like it's pushed to the right here and pushed up. And to be completely honest, it's only really off top to bottom. I think it's almost perfect left to right. So there's just another example of a card that I will be bidding on tonight. So, all right, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope that helped you. If you have any questions, please drop them down below in the comments. If there's any cards that I missed and that are weird out there, I know there is some, and I'm more than willing to help. Just drop a comment down below, or if you want, join the Discord. If you become a YouTube member, you'll get access to all the private channels and basically some one-on-one coaching with me. So if you have questions before you purchase a card, feel free. When you're a YouTube member, I respond almost instantly. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch y'all next time.
I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Morant. Need a triple double.